But
Really?
2023 will be the determiner of who's actually going to stand out.
But how many of those candidates are serious? I mean, I know you're serious. You're all
Yeah.
over the place.
A lot of people apply, but few will actually get traction.
Okay.
So
So one of the main platform items for 2024 is immigration.
yes.
What are your thoughts on immigration?
My thoughts on immigration are this. We need to close the borders for at least 10 years. Then we need to retroactively have anybody who was here in the past 10 years deported back to their country. We also need to put a moratorium on any HB1 visas, stop chain migration through those HB1 visas, and also look at a clear path to citizenship for those who have applied for citizenship here in the U.S. The reason why I want to retroactively take it back 10 years and put a moratorium for 10 years is because those who've applied, it takes anywhere from 5 to 10 years just to get U.S. citizenship properly. And in that time, we can really look at cleaning up our immigration system. Right now, it's out of control. It's being weaponized, unfortunately, and it's being used to erode our financial system. It is a new form of slavery, unfortunately, and they are now putting in place another set of individuals to once again collect from the United States, and it isn't fair to the American people.
When you say close the border for 10 years, you're talking about entirely close the border?
Entirely closed.
From every single country?
Well, what I mean by that is we're closed. So you can no longer come here and apply for citizenship.
Okay, what about to work?
HB1 visas, moratorium, 10 years.
So what about talent from the Middle East and from the Far East?
There will be a moratorium for 10 years.
For 10 years?
For 10 years minimum.
Well, how do you think that will impact our economy?
I think it will actually give a boost to our economy because we have American citizens here that actually do have the talent to be put in those positions. It's just going to be up to the companies to now pay those individuals that money. Because what happens with those HB1 visas that people don't see is they end up undercutting the market. Where a job should pay $150,000, they can pay somebody else in the HB1 visa $75,000, which is still decent money. But if the job pays $150,000, it should be paid to an American citizen for $150,000.
The city of Chicago just passed a legislation to pay $500 a month to any immigrant without showing proof that they're a citizen. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
It's illegal to use federal dollars in an illegal manner. If somebody is here illegally and they've broken the law, yet they are put in a position to benefit from our federal dollars, that's illegal. And that should never be done. Again, it's replacement migration. This is on the United Nations website. So there is a path to unfortunately undermine the United States country as we are, and it just needs to stop.
So I was looking over Trump's his platform, and as you know, Trump always has far out issues that he's advocating for. Another issue that he is running on is the banning of men from women's sports. What does he mean by that?
So we have the transgender movement under the LGBTQ community, where someone who's transgender who claims to be the opposite sex can now participate. And those are men. Biologically, they are men. They are not women. And so they have testosterone in their bodies that make them stronger. Now, if a woman took testosterone, let's say, as to have an advantage, they would be banned from sports. But a man could come in, pretend to be a woman, and take, advantage of that loophole, in a sense. I need people to understand that I am not a supporter of the LGBTQ community, and the reason why is because it has become a cult. When I was in college, I was a part of the LGBTQ club that was on our campus, and it was very inclusive of everyone, no matter what your preference was, no matter who you were, you could participate, and it was more so to get an understanding and really build community across and build those bridges. Now it's used as a way to indoctrinate individuals and to groom our children. And so for those that are listening, I know it might upset some people, but I'm not a supporter of what it's become.
No, I mean, you wouldn't be doing any investigating to see if somebody was actually a girl when they're actually a boy. I mean, how would that work out?
Well, by people's birth certificate, number one.
Okay.
And sometimes you can sometimes tell when people are who they are. It really comes back to, does this individual love themselves? And why, if they don't, why don't they? And what are we really doing to help that person? Because gender dysphoria is real, where people feel like, I'm in the wrong body, I shouldn't be like this. Well, we need to deal with that, and we need to find out why this person doesn't love themselves. Because even when people go through transitional surgeries to become the opposite sex, which is actually a transsexual, it's not a transgender, and I think we really need to get more into that, but that's down the road. Even when they do that, they're still unhappy. And unfortunately, a lot of times those individuals end up committing suicide or hurting themselves, or in situations where there's somebody who thinks they are what they are, and when they find out that they're not, they end up getting injured. And so I know that's why some of these laws have come into place. But if a man is pretending to be with a woman and he ends up with a heterosexual man, and the heterosexual man gets upset with him, you kind of set yourself up for that. And that's nobody's fault but yours. Be upfront with who you are, because if that's not something that they want, and they really want a biological woman, you set yourself up. That's not anybody's fault but your own. And so a lot of this is accountability and responsibility.
Also, part of Trump's platform is him saying that Christians will have more power when he's president. Can you define what he means by that?
The only thing I can think that he's going with on this one, I don't know if you've heard the term called Christian nationalism, where it's pretty much, I think they've tried to start a movement around Christians, being stronger, being more foretelling about who they are as Christians, and it's wrong. Because here's the thing, yes, we are a nation under God. Yes, a lot of our values are Judeo-Christian values. But here's the one thing about God, he never forces himself on anybody. So why should you be forcing yourself on anybody politically? The only way we become better as a society is when we really get back to respect. And that's what Jesus had for his fellow men. He wasn't hanging out with all the Christians. He was hanging out with the prostitutes and the lepers and the taxpayers. He was hanging out with everybody who didn't look like him or act like him, because he wanted to let them know that they were loved too. And if they wanted to change their life, he was there to love them and respect them. And that's what we need to get back to, not just bullying our way into people's lives.
What are your main or your top 3 issues?
My top 3 issues, well, my platform is God, family, health, and education. So my issues are definitely going towards getting back to respect, like I was saying, being a Christian nation under God, and education, and really helping our children have a safe place to learn, grow, and study, because they are our future. They are the next generation. So I want to make sure those become behind me are able to sustain this great country. And then lastly, we need to look at just our health as a country. We've gotten over this pandemic. We've gotten through it. But what are we going to make sure we have in place so we don't go through this again?
Should higher education and healthcare be rights? Should those costs be covered by the government?
I wouldn't want them covered by the government, but I do like managed healthcare, the way it looks, or a shared healthcare program or plan, where we're looking at not so much having government involvement and even insurances involvement, but really looking at how we can pull monies with individuals that need and want health care, so there's a direct communication with their doctors, and not having the insurance companies getting in the way of what your doctor can do for you, even though you're paying insurance. Because the way insurance companies work now, they kind of manage your health care when it should be managed by your doctor, and they also get government subsidies for health care. So it's like government needs to get out of healthcare so that we can have healthcare. Now, if we look at it at state to state basis, states can look at, okay, having a tax that goes specifically towards the healthcare of an individual and adding that money, because each person gets an allotment of money for each state.
Mhm.
And that's how states are sometimes funded from the federal government. If you looked at it that way and it was more of a state by state basis, we would be a lot more healthier as a country instead of just looking at the federal government to do everything for us.